Diego wants a wife. Next morning, the storm was finished. The golden sun shone in a blue sky. Don Diego Vega was riding his horse along a hot, dusty road. He was wearing fine clothes and he was riding very slowly. He was going to make an important visit. He was going to visit the Pulido family. The Pulidos were an old and noble family, but Don Carlos Pulido had done some things which made the governor of California angry. Because of this, the governor had taken a lot of land and money from Don Carlos. Now, the Pulidos were a poor family. Don Carlos was sitting on the veranda of his hacienda. He was sitting in a comfortable chair. The veranda was cool and shady. Don Carlos was very surprised to see Don Diego. "Nobody visits the Pulidos anymore," he said to himself. "What does this young man from the great Vega family want?" A few moments later, Don Diego came onto the veranda. "Welcome, Don Diego," Don Carlos said to the young man. "Please sit down. Would you like some cake and wine?" "Thank you," replied Don Diego in a tired voice. "The weather is so hot and I've ridden a long way." Don Carlos smiled. The journey from the town to his house was only 4 miles. It was easy for a young man to ride a powerful horse this distance. A servant brought some wine. Then Don Diego spoke again. "Don Carlos, I'm nearly 25 years old," he said. "Yesterday, my father talked seriously to me. He wants me to get married. He wants me to have children. The Vega family is an old and noble one, so I must choose a wife from the same kind of family. The Pulido family is a noble family too. You have a daughter, Don Carlos." "Yes," said Don Carlos. "My daughter Lolita is 18 years old now." "I've seen her several times," said Don Diego. "She is beautiful and clever. Don Carlos, please, may I marry her?" Don Carlos was excited. This was a wonderful thing for the Pulido family. The Vega family were friends of the governor of California. "Perhaps Don Diego will talk to the governor about my problems," Don Carlos thought. "Perhaps the governor will give me back my land. Then my family will be great again." "I'll be very happy if you marry my daughter," he said. Don Carlos's wife, Doña Catalina, came to the veranda. She heard the news. She was happy and excited too. "It will be easy for you to win Lolita's love, Señor," she said. "Oh," said Don Diego, "must I win her love? I'm sorry, but I'm not interested in that kind of thing. I don't know how to say sweet things to a woman. Must I hold her hand and play the guitar under her window?" He thought for a moment. "I will send one of my servants to play a guitar for me," he said. "Please make the wedding plans. Tell me when everything is ready." Doña Catalina and Don Carlos looked at each other in astonishment. "This is very strange young man," Doña Catalina thought. "Most young men enjoy winning a girl's love, and young girls want their husbands to win them. What will Lolita say about this?" Suddenly, Lolita herself came to the veranda. She was a very beautiful young woman with long black hair and lovely dark eyes. "Señorita," said Don Diego, "I want to marry you. I've asked your father about this and he has agreed." Your parents are going to make all the plans for our wedding. A servant will tell me when everything is ready. Lolita's black eyes flashed with anger. And the servant will come and play a guitar under my window? She said. I heard everything, Signor. You're a rich man and you're from a great family, but you don't know how to win a woman's love. I'm sorry, Signor, but I don't want to marry you. Goodbye. Then she turned and walked proudly into the house. I don't understand, said Don Diego. Why is she angry at me? Don't worry, Signor, replied Don Carlos. My daughter will marry you. Visit her again in a few days. When Don Diego had gone, Don Carlos talked to Lolita. My daughter, he said, if you marry Don Diego, the Pulido family will be great again. Please think about this. Lolita was sad. She wanted to help her father, but she also wanted a brave, strong husband. She wanted a man who could win her love. That afternoon, Lolita was in the garden of the hacienda. The weather was very hot. The young woman sat down by a small fountain. The sound of the moving water was soft and peaceful. Soon, Lolita felt tired and she closed her eyes. Suddenly, she opened her eyes again. Somebody had touched her hand. A tall man in a long cloak was standing in front of her. He was wearing a black mask. His eyes were shining through 2 holes in the mask. He took off his sombrero. Lolita knew who this man was. She had heard many stories about this thief. Don't be afraid, said the masked man. I'm Señor Zorro. Perhaps you've heard of me. I'm not going to hurt you. I know about your father's problems with the governor, and I'm very sorry for your family. Thank you, said Lolita. But why are you here? I was passing your hacienda, said Zorro. It's a hot afternoon and I wanted to rest. I saw you and I wanted to speak to you. You are very beautiful. Thank you, Señor, said Lolita. But you must leave this place immediately. There is danger for you here. Somebody will see you and send for the soldiers. Yes, said Zorro. You're right. I'll go. He held Lolita's hand and kissed it gently. The young woman looked into his bright eyes and her heart began to beat faster. Quickly, she pulled her hand away from him and she ran into the house. Zorro put on his sombrero and walked slowly from the garden. Lolita watched him from a window. How brave he is, she thought. How brave and how different from Don Diego.